Hi, welcome back to God Aware. This week I'm going to talk about ownership versus possession. One of my favorite quotes that Todd White says, he says that Jesus didn't die to get you into heaven, but he died to get heaven into you. And I think many times us as Christians, we focus on heaven, we focus on escaping the earth. We think, okay, well, salvation is all about going to another place. And we forget that, the mandate is, no, you are supposed to remain on the earth and to dominate earth with our gifts and our talents and our abilities, and to bring the kingdom of heaven to earth, through our lives and through what we're doing here. And I think many times we get confused on our salvation as far as ownership of salvation versus possession. I think many of us take ownership of our salvation, but we don't take possession of our salvation. Now, what I mean by that is you can buy a house and be the owner of a house, but until you actually get the keys and move in and start putting things in the house and exploring the rooms, you don't actually take possession of the house. You can own a land with $1 million buried in it, and in fact you own $1 million, but you don't possess $1 million until you go to the land and dig it up and start using the money. And so I think for many of us, we take ownership, we own our salvation. It's like, yes, I'm saved, I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I'm going to heaven when I die. But we really need to take possession of our salvation and let heaven get into us and start living out, the plans and desires of God, what He has for us to do on this earth. I love listening to even Miles Monroe talk about, to look at really what Jesus bought for us. We have to look at what Adam lost, because Jesus is the second Adam. So to look at what is available and what Jesus walked in, we have to see, what did Adam actually lose? And we can thereby look at what Jesus bought for us. And one of the things that Adam lost was dominion. That God gave him dominion over the plants and the animals and over nature. And one of the things we see in Jesus' ministry is He demonstrated dominion over plants and over nature. One of the favorite things I hear is that, when the miraculous catch with the disciples, when all the fish came into the net and they caught, so many fish that the nets were breaking and the boat was about to sink, to think that, whether Jesus actually spoke or thought or communicated to the fish that, okay, fish, now is the time to everybody go into this one net at this time. And to think that, for the first time in 2,000 years, the fish heard the voice of Adam. They heard the voice of the one that was put in dominion over them. And to think, when Jesus cursed the fig tree and it withered and died, I think, for the first time in 2,000 years, a plant heard the voice of Adam, the one that had been given dominion over it, and it listened to that. And so I think we really need to take possession of our salvation. We know that we own our salvation, that we're going to heaven when we die. But the challenge for me this week, the challenge for us this week, is to take possession of our salvation, to let heaven into us, not be focused on getting to heaven, but to let heaven get into us and express itself through our actions, to express itself in how we live our lives on a daily basis, and to live out, that God-given dominion, not just over, nature, but over our circumstances, over situations in life, to realize that God has placed us in a position of authority, that once we take possession of our salvation, that we can do all things through Christ, that is strengthened in us. So really the challenge for me this week and to us this week is to take possession of that which we already own, take possession of our salvation, realize what Christ bought for us on the cross, not to be so focused on heaven, but to be focused on heaven getting into us and expressing itself through us. Until next time, God bless.